Hi guys, my name's Chima and welcome back to another episode. I'm not sure if you've been tuning on over the last few, but I'm giving all of you guys the opportunity to hopefully get to know the team a little bit more. Joining me today is Tom Collins, and he's one of the senior brokers at Flambard Williams. Tom's sort of known being sort of a perfectionist in the office. He's very meticulous and driven and puts absolutely 100% into everything he does. I'm not just saying that, he's on my team, so I can see that firsthand. On the other hand though, Tom brings a very light-hearted approach to the team. He's always cracking jokes and making sure that the mood is uplifted. So hopefully you guys are in for a treat. Well, actually, it depends on how much he's willing to give away. So, Tom, thank you so much for being on here. I hope you didn't mind the introduction. I hope you don't mind that everyone sort of knows you've got that funny side to you.
Yeah, you spot on, to be fair. I think it's a side of me that, people maybe don't see all the time. But, I always like cracking a joke, winding people up. I think it's... makes work a bit more enjoyable. Yeah,
it's never a dull moment when you're in the office. I think Tom was, for those of you that don't know, he was away for a week and we all felt it, that's for sure. But like I said, I just wanted everyone to sort of get to know you. So I've compiled quite a few questions for you. Some will be, property driven, of course, and motivated, but some will be focused on you. I hope that's okay.
Yep, perfect. Go ahead.
Amazing. So as a starting point, Tom, I always like everybody to get to know where your journey began. So how long have you been with Flambard Williams, and what was that journey of beginning with us? What did it look like for you?
Yeah, so I've been at Flambard Williams around about 4 years now. Probably looked a lot younger when I first started, so it's definitely added some years to me. But started off really well. The office was a lot smaller, the team was a lot smaller, so it did look a lot different from when I first started, and I've kind of watched it grow over those sort of 4 years to... The team's getting better, the training gets better, the office has changed.
Yeah.
So, I've just seen the company go from not zero, but from smaller beginnings to where it is now. So, yeah.
Amazing. So, I guess Jack, Ricky, Ben, you probably have seen a really good timeline of where we are, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, I've seen, they were all there before I got there. And obviously now they're team leaders. They've all progressed and stuff like that. And now we're bringing on more new people as well. So, it's exciting times.
Amazing. And what was it that you were doing, Tom, before you started with the company?
So I was doing a couple of things. So I left school and I really didn't know what I wanted to do when I left school. So my dad said to me, he said, look, get yourself into a trade. It's always a good thing to do. So I naturally just fell into plumbing. Okay. Now, done that for a couple of years. I'll be honest, I didn't enjoy clambering around in people's lofts, cleaning toilets and stuff like that. I just thought getting dirty every day, I thought this is not for me at all. Yeah. So wanted to get into the office. And a sales job, there's no ceiling. The more work you put in, the more you get rewarded. So that's what really attracted me to it.
Amazing. And do you have a vision in sort of where you want to go with this? Or is it sort of you're just putting in as much as you can and hoping to reap the rewards?
I 100% want to be, team leader, have my own team, maybe a new department of the company that maybe branches out. Whether we do stuff abroad at some stage, maybe that's something I'd like to do. But wherever the company is going, I want to be sort of one of those first people that got in at the very beginning, and then years later, you're kind of at the top. Yeah,
senior. You'll get the seniorship, isn't it?
Yeah.
Amazing. And did you know, because I know you said you did plumbing. I mean, I know you speak to us guys a bit more about that. But for those that don't know you, did you always want to get into property, or did you kind of stumble on it?
It's something that I've always been around, to be honest. Obviously, with the plumbing, you're kind of working in people's houses, and then I went more to the construction side, the property development. So I was working on new sites and stuff like that. So I've kind of always been involved in property somehow, and then naturally moved more to an office job. I think because when it rains and you're on site, and it's not for me at all. Being in an office is great. So it's just been a natural evolution, I suppose, into an office space.
Perfect. And what was that like for you though? You were doing plumbing, so you're working within the industry, but obviously there's so much more. So were you always okay, I can only do plumbing for so long, or is it sort of I wonder what more avenues there are for property?
Yeah, so I always thought, as I said, I kind of really fell into the sort of plumbing side, the manual work, and I think deep down I really knew that I'd prefer to work an office job. And this for me was something that was a natural progression into an office space, still property related. So I still kind of knew the fundamentals of
the
projects
skeleton
getting built and stuff like that. So it was good to take that knowledge into an office space.
100%. I can see it really helps. Like, your clients that come to us and say, oh, do you think it's better to buy a flat or refurbish? And you can kind of say, no, I mean, I've done that. It's not actually the right route.
Spot on. I think people really underestimate how much money it actually costs to do a property up yourself, refurb it, stuff like that. And you watch these programs, Homes Under the Hammer.
Yeah.
And people look at that and they think it's so easy. But in reality, you end up spending so much money. So, yeah, I would always recommend looking at something, like an off-plan project, something that a developer's doing that work for you.
Yeah.
For me, and it takes less time and less money, actually.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I love always hearing like sort of everyone's journeys and where they got. And I know, Tom, like our job takes a lot of time out of our day, right? It's long hours. It's very time consuming, but it is fun. But when you're not working, you've left the office. What hobbies do you like to do outside of work?
So all the people in the office that know me, that I always, maybe I'm a little bit deluded, but I think I'm a bit of an athlete. So I'm really into my health and fitness. I like to eat clean as possible. I'm really, really into that. So whether that's going to the gym, doing runs, I like sports in general, football. So I like to be really active. And when you're in an office and you're sat down all day, it's good to get out and clear your mind and exercise. Yeah,
I heard you and I don't know, I might be wrong, Ben, was it that you guys were thinking of doing a marathon maybe? Is that something that you like to do quite often, or?
Yeah, we done a 10k at the end beginning of last year. So we done a 10k there. That was a little bit of a taster. I'll be honest, didn't do any training for it, but we done well.
Impressive.
And then after that we was kind of like, right, let's take the next step. Let's do a half marathon. God. So we haven't booked that one yet. So that probably tells you all you need to know so far. But
daunting.
We are going to do it. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. But like I said at the start, you are a bit of a perfectionist. I don't know if you know that's how we all look at you. We know that you are going to give 150%, if not more. So you are always working late. You're always sort of one of the last ones there. I know you don't mind it, but do you ever see yourself slowing down, or do you think you're always going to go with that same drive?
Do you know what? Even when I finish late or I start early and I wake up in the morning, I've still got that drive. I don't feel tired, or I don't ever feel like, I need to take my foot off the gas here and slow down. I actually enjoy it. It sounds a bit weird to say, but it's kind of like a bit of an addiction. I actually like working hard, and I'd probably be a bit lost if I wasn't working hard. I wouldn't know what to do.
You remind me a bit, your work ethic reminds me a bit of Chris, even though he's in our minds sort of made it, he's up there, but you're still as hungry, and he's still as hungry as though you've just walked through the door, isn't it?
And I think a big part of that was my parents. My dad worked extremely hard when we was younger, and me watching that growing up. And he always said to me, he said, you always got to work hard in life, always. So I think that's something that always resonated with me. And no matter what job I've done, like any industry, I've always worked as hard as possible that I can. Yep. And I feel like it's done pretty well for me. I think,
100%.
If you work hard, then you can do anything pretty much.
100%. I love that. And what would you say, because obviously it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but what would you say is the most challenging part of our job? I mean, it could be generally, or for you.
The hardest part for me is probably just because you're speaking to so many different clients, and they've all got different needs, different wants and goals, etc. So it's just trying to find a balance. And I think organisation is a big one. Yeah. Because you're speaking to so many different clients, it's so important to keep it all organised. 100%. What's going on with this client, what's going on with that client, because if you don't, it can get a real mess, and then you're chasing your tail.
100%. And like, everyone is so different. And it's weird because you could deal with a certain type of clientele that are the same. You could have like 5 clients who are pretty similar, and then one comes in and you're like, oh my gosh. So it really shakes things up, isn't it? Yeah,
you've got to be able to adapt. I mean, every client, as I said, is different. So part of our job is adapting to that client, their needs. And yes, I suppose that's why not everyone can do it. So it's hats off to all of us.
100%. And because you're very, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're quite routine driven. I feel like you've got, guys, even down to, I know he's mentioned Device Fitness, even down to what you bring in for lunch, sort of Monday to Thursday, not Monday to Friday, Monday to Thursday. You're very routine orientated. So do you find that's quite hard when a new challenge is thrown at us, or let's say a new client or a new idea that Jack may throw down the drain and say, hey guys, do this? Does that throw you off, or do you think you're very easily adaptable?
I love my routines. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
I have the same lunch, chicken, rice, and broccoli every day.
Admirable.
Yeah, for lunch. I mean, yeah, I like to stick to that. Yeah, I do like routines, but also I don't mind, and I'm happy to do new ideas if it's something that pushes me to the next level or something that improves me. I'm happy to learn new things and try something different.
Okay, fair enough. And we know you've been in the industry for quite a while, longer than most of us. What would you say, Tom, is the common misconception in the property industry that hasn't changed since you started?
That hasn't changed?
Yeah, could be anything. Okay. Something that your clients come to you and they say, well, actually, and you have to sort of reframe them.
That hasn't changed. I mean, yeah, clients still come to me now and they say, some 4 years ago, we've had lots of different things happen in the economy, stuff like that. And they still say to me, I think property prices are going to drop. I think they're going to fall. And this was like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And they're saying the same thing to me now. And I'm like, well, what have they done? And they still haven't dropped.
Yeah.
So I think, the uncertainty about the property market and prices are going to fall, I think I'm still getting that now. And
yeah,
if we look from 4 years ago, we know that property prices haven't fallen since then.
Yeah.
So, yes, that's something I still get.
Do you get bored then? If you I can imagine, like, when you get the same thing, like one thing that for me, it really, you have to just take a deep breath and they say, well, off plan doesn't work. And you're just like, come on. Do you get bored when you get the same question, or is it more so a bit entertaining now where you're like, you know what? It's a mantra.
It's a little bit entertaining. I have a little bit of a game with them, to be fair. And I always say, if they say, price is going to drop, and you kind of say, well, you should have sold your house. If you think prices are going to drop that much, you should have sold them, and they didn't sell their house. So
true.
It can be a little bit entertaining. I do feel for clients as well. Like, I totally get it. It's for a lot of clients, first time doing it, so there's always that uncertainty in the back of their head when maybe they're a little bit worried and concerned and stuff like, which is totally normal. But
of course,
you just got to look at the property market over the past decade. What has it done? Prices have always gone up. They've typically doubled every 10 years. So,
true.
For anyone that is thinking that, please don't be put off, because, it will hold you back. 100%.
And you guys heard it here first. I'm sure those clients that have already dealt with you, they can vouch for you and say, well, you were right. And more to come as well. Another very, very popular question we get is always surrounding sort of the off-plan market, right? It's more popular not only amongst brokers, but investors typically come seeking off-plan, but also, understandably, some view it as too risky, right? What are some factors that you would advise them to look out for with off-plan if it's the first time thinking about it?
It's a really good point, and something that a lot of clients bring up to me. So there's definitely sort of checklist that we look at as well, because we don't just take on any off-plan project.
No.
So we'll look at things like the developer track record.
Yep.
What have they done before? Has it finished on time? The funds that you're putting in, are they being used to fund the build, or are they being a lot of developers, what they'll do is they'll ask for a huge deposit up front, and they'll use that money to fund the build.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you look at a developer maybe that is fully funded, they're not using your money to fund that build, then you've got no concerns there that things could potentially go wrong. So track record, fully funded, what have they done before? For me, they're the sort of key fundamentals. Deposit sizes as well.
Yeah.
If a developer's asking for a small deposit, that's normally a pretty good sign. If they want your 35, 40% of the world's, wouldn't
be worried. Yeah,
wouldn't touch it.
Okay, fair play. And would you say that when you speak to clients and after having those conversations, you see a noticeable shift where they're like, okay, I'm happy to go with an off plan, or do you think that Ready Now is still very popular?
I think Ready Now will always be popular, because look, who doesn't want something that's ready now, generating 10%? And but the problem is that's kind of like the golden goose. That's kind of what everyone wants.
Yep.
And look at it from a seller's point of view. If they've got something ready now, great location, earning you 10%, why would they want to sell it? They probably wouldn't. So, and look, every property now at some stage was off plan.
Very true.
It doesn't mean that all off plans go badly.
Yeah.
Every property you see. So I still think there's so much bigger benefits with an off plan if you get the right one.
100%. And that's sort of what we're here to do, isn't it? We don't ever say to them, oh, go off plan and then throw them in the deep end. We'll help you and recommend and see, leave it to them to sort of make the choice, right?
Spot on.
Oh, a bit of a personal one now.
Okay.
Back to you, but still kind of property related. You've done this a while. You've got a lot of knowledge under your belt, right? You're probably one of the more knowledgeable people in the office would say. Have you taken that advice and have you invested yourself? And if you haven't, why not?
So yeah, I have done one myself. For me, with a bit of insider knowledge, I've kind of got the advantage over a lot of
It's
people.
true. Yeah.
I'm going to be looking to do more. I think for myself personally, I want to build up as many properties buy to let as possible before buying my sort of dream, my dream home. I'm not heavily reliant on the income now, but I want to sort of plan for my future. And look, by the time I'm still young,
Yeah.
by the time I sort of get to my late 30s, if I can be in a position where I only have to work maybe a couple of days a week, I've got my portfolio there, and also something to give back to my mum and dad. Obviously, brought me up, looked after me.
Yeah.
So if I can do something where I can give back to them in their sort of later years as well, that's my goal.
I love that. What about, well, I hope you don't mind me mentioning, what about your sisters?
Yeah, the sisters are in there as well. We are like cat and mouse sometimes with my sisters, but hopefully I'm trying to show them the ropes and show them that it is a good thing to get into property, and they can, I can be a bit of an example for them.
I was going to go, the reason I mentioned them, I was going to say, do you think that you being, I think you're the oldest, right, out of the three of you, so would you say that they look up to you to say, okay, he's doing that, I want to do the same? Do you think that, they would take the baton? Is that what it's called? And go with it as well?
Pass on the baton, yeah. They probably wouldn't admit that they look up to me, but hopefully I would like to think so, that if they can see me doing it and they can see that, how it's going to help mum and dad out and stuff like that, I think they would definitely follow in my
follow suit.
footsteps. Yeah.
But I feel like that's something that happens quite a lot. Like I've seen it in the office. A couple of the guys will invest, like you and let's say Ricky, Jack, and then the rest of us were kind of okay, how can we do it? And then you also see like family members, friends. So I know you're quite young, so your sisters are quite young, but it's interesting to know whether they see it as something worthwhile doing.
100%, yeah. I'll always, maybe because I'm so used to it at work, and I talk about the benefits and speaking with clients and their goals.
Yeah.
Whenever I speak to my parents and my sisters and I tell them about it, they're kind of like, wow, I didn't know that was actually possible.
Yeah.
And it kind of seems like a bit of a dream. But when you tell them that you do it day in, day out, and it's actually a reality and you can do what you want to set out to do, they, I think they're fully on board with it.
And what's the best? It's like, who better to get advice from than someone that is in your own family or your friends, right? So even better, the rapport and everything is already there. The trust is already there. So 100%. And well, actually, a question that I think is perfect for you because you've done this and you're starting out doing it. Tom, what would you say is the best way to structure your portfolio? Not for investors who have already got a great portfolio behind them, but more on the first-time investors.
It's a good question. So I would base it on, first of all, what are you looking to do? So look, if you're a first-time investor, you're not heavily reliant on the income now. You're more sort of long-term growth driven. Then, an off-plan property where you can lock in a price now, let it appreciate in value, then be ready in like a year's time or 2 years' time. If you're someone who is more reliant on that income, so maybe someone a little bit closer to retirement, they've maybe got a couple of years left and they need that income a bit sooner, then I would structure it. We look at properties that are a bit more ready now so you can get that income. And maybe if you need extra income, we look at the short-term let route so you can get a bit extra income for your retirement. So I base it all down to what your goals and needs are.
Okay, 100%. And would you say, I completely agree with that, by the way, everyone is so different, so you can't give generic advice to just one person, right? To a group of people. Now, would you say that it's better to sort of manage the portfolio yourself, especially if you're starting out? Because, some say it's good to sort of dive into the deep end, learn yourself, and then sort of learn the hard way and grow. Or would you say, don't do that, use a management company and have them sort of manage the portfolio and then you take the ropes later down the line?
Yeah, I would advise to pretty much everyone, get a management company to do it for you. The main reason being is most people, they work now. Now, managing properties can be a full-time job in itself. So unless you're not working, you don't do anything, you watch TV every day,
it's true.
You're bored, then management might be okay for you. But we're going to be posting it on multiple platforms. You've got getting new tenancies in there, as they're collecting the rents, all the latest regulations we keep up with. So people think it's really straightforward and really easy, but there's so much that goes into it that they don't realise. And let's be honest, if you're getting a phone call on a Sunday night, you're having your dinner, and then you're getting a call that someone can't work the kettle or microwave, and you don't want to travel all the way to that property to sort that out.
Of course not.
Always use a management company.
Yeah, and again, like you said, there's so much to go into it that we actually, as brokers, it's not something that we even have the time to do, because it would just take away so much from our day. So we actually have a completely separate team who take care of that. And even them, you can tell, like, when they're managing hundreds of properties, they're backlogged as well. But I completely agree with you. You don't want that call on a Sunday, especially when you're having your roast.
Definitely not.
But back to sort of the management side of things, we manage, of course, property, but we also advise on the type of property. And that is always, like I said to Izzy last week, and we were touching on it, city centre apartments. One thing that a lot of people don't like when we speak to them, and you know, I think you know what I'm going to say, is it is a leasehold. Why do we have to have a leasehold? Why not a freehold? And what would you say to that? It's something so common, but what's your basic answer?
I always say, so I've been hearing this for the past 4 years, so I know exactly what to say. Who would you rather have in your property? A young professional or a family? And most people say a young professional.
Yep.
So where do you think a young professional wants to be?
Yeah, city
in a
centre.
City centre.
Yeah.
What properties do you find in a city centre?
Apartments.
Flats and apartments.
Yep.
So you want a young professional, they pay on time, they look after the property. 9 times out of 10, they're not in the property that long either.
Yep.
So wear and tear is a lot less as well. So if you want something that's easier to let out, you can charge a premium for it.
Yep.
Then yeah, city centre apartments is the way to go. And you've got the arenas, you've got the stadiums, you've got the option of short-term lets there as well. You've got the train stations, everything. So
that's
for
so
me,
much, right?
Yeah, 100%
All right.
city centre.
Another one that you're probably just going to laugh at, but because you've heard it 100 times. You ready? I don't want to pay service charge. Okay, a statement that we hear all the time. Why do you think clients come to us with that? And why do you think that it's just not that big of a deal?
I think clients come to us and say that maybe because they've heard stuff from other people. I think it's a lot traditionally. I think years and years ago, people would always say about freehold properties, houses.
Yep.
But I think the way things are changing now, and people still stuck maybe in that little sort of older mentality of houses. And they look at service charge and they see that as, well, that's just coming out of my income. That's a cost to me. What they don't factor in is that covers all the maintenance of the building. Your building insurance is covered in there as well. And when you look at a house, of course, you don't have those charges, but you've got to pay for a garden. You've got to pay for a driveway.
Yeah.
Any repairs on the building, you've got to do that as well. So, and the building insurance as well, whereas that's all included in your service charge.
Yeah.
So, I just think it's a misconception that people always have. And sorry, what was the last point?
Oh no, I was just saying, why is it not a big deal? Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, it's not really a big deal. As I said, it covers all those maintenance charges.
Yep.
All your building insurance is included. So yeah, you don't have to worry about anything. That's all covered by the service charge.
And it's just that I think because it's labelled one thing. When you buy a house, no one's saying it's not called. I guess if they started to call it, the house services, and then you've got X, Y, Z. But I think because it's titled and it's very transparent, they look at it and think, oh no. But I think the maintenance in that, it accumulates to so much more. Definitely.
I mean, if you've got a house and let's just say after a year the boiler packs up or there's a hole in the roof, that's a cost to you.
100%.
Whereas, as I said, it still will cost you as a service charge, but you know all your maintenance is covered.
Yeah.
And people don't factor that in when they look at houses.
I'm so curious, right, with people not like just you, but also like the same for Jack, Ricky, Ben. I'm so curious how many times you guys have been asked these questions. Imagine you could have a tally of how many times someone comes to you, no leasehold, no service charge, and you're just sat there like, okay, because you still answer it as though it's the first time hearing it.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
Yeah, I think if we had a little marker on a board, I think we'd have the whole office would be just covered in boards and markers. I've heard it thousands of times.
It's quite a big office as well, but yeah, if you could have, £1 for every time you've heard that, you'd made it in life.
I'd be a billionaire probably.
Well, listen, we're wrapping up pretty soon, but I always like to sort of take it back to you. This is more about everyone getting to know you. One question that I have personally for you that I actually haven't prepared today is anyone who speaks to you, whether it be on a Zoom, an office meeting, or over the phone, they get they get a serious side of Tom. How do you switch between the Tom that we see, which is, lovely guy, but likes to have a joke, to the Tom who, he means business and he's going to get you the best of the best? How do you switch between the two? Because it comes so naturally for you.
That is a good question. I myself personally, I'm a jokey guy.
Yep.
But when it does come down to, the serious stuff, I think, clients want someone who's going to go out and get them the best deal. All jokes aside, we can have fun and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's an investment. It's important to them. Want to make sure we're getting them the right thing. So, yeah, that's where that switch comes from, where I know we're getting on well, we're having a laugh, but at the same time, look, it's an investment. This is serious thing. It's, your hard-earned money. We want to make sure we're getting it right.
It must seep through though, right? Because they stick with you for a reason. It's not just because of the property. They stick with you for each of us. We will bring something different to the table.
Definitely. Yeah. I still try and have a laugh and have a few jokes with the clients.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm sure they appreciate that.
Yeah, so it's good to have both sides.
Amazing. Well, listen, last but not least, and this is actually my favourite question to ask, okay? I always like to ask, right, a bit of diving back into your past. If you could rewind the clock, let's say, I mean, we're the same age, so what, 28, right? So if you could rewind the clock 5 years ago, what would you give yourself, what would you give yourself advice on? What would you say to young Tom? And also, if you could put the clock forward 5 years, where do you hope you'll be?
So what I would have said to myself 5 years ago is you can do anything that you want to do. Don't ever limit yourself. Don't ever think that you're not good enough to do anything. I think set your mind to it and just go for it. And I think, that would be my advice to my younger self. And then where do I see myself in 5 years' time?
Where do you hope to see yourself?
Where do I hope to see myself? Well, I'd like to see a decent portfolio of properties behind me, taking care of mum and dad, making sure they're all good. Hopefully, his sister's got a couple of properties as well. I'm in a position in the company where, I'm one of those top positions.
One of the top dogs.
Yeah, one of the top dogs, shall we say. And maybe a couple of teams underneath me as well.
For sure.
Yeah, that's where I see myself.
Well, that seems very realistic. And unfortunately, Tom, that's it for today. Thank you so much. I know post-Easter, it's been so busy. So I know you're really, really backlogged. So I really appreciate you being on here today. Guys, I really hope you got to know Tom a little bit more. He wasn't as, jokey, I'd like to say, on here, but that's good because you got to see what he brings to the table, which is a lot. So tune in next week. We've got another guest on here, or guests potentially. But until then, goodbye.